counts of cruelty to animals. Coming up, what led up to his arrest and what information we obtained in those warrants.
A Holly Springs man found guilty in a series of pellet gun shootings. WRAL was the only news station in the courtroom as Henderson Atwater was sentenced to decades in prison.
New model data on the tropics show a major shift in this potential system, where it could be headed, and the heat wave here at home.
Right now, here at 7 o'clock, disturbing allegations against a dog trainer now facing animal cruelty charges after a series of viral videos documented the abuse. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Dan Haggerty.
And I'm Ashley Rowe. Lenore County deputies arrested Matthew Neal, owner of East Carolina Retrievers. He's accused of choking dogs, beating them, and misusing shock collars. As WRAL's Heidi Kirk reports, this evening, the sheriff brought new details to light.
At the press conference, the Lenore County Sheriff shared years of accusations to do with Neal and his business, East Carolina Retrievers. They said that it was a series of viral videos that brought this case to their attention. The video you are about to see is not easy to watch. We muted the audio, so you won't hear the yelping let out by a dog being beaten.
I was appalled by the videos that showing Mr. Neal's crimes.
Lenore County Sheriff Jackie Rogers says it was videos shared by one of Matthew Neal's former employees that led to the arrest. What role did those play in the arrest?
They were crucial to the arrest. They interviewed people for 3 or 4 hours last night before we had probable cause to establish enough for the arrest. The sheriff's office tells us 11 dogs were taken from Neal's custody and are now in the care of the Lenore County SPCA. According to these warrants, Neal misused shock collars, choked dogs, and beat them on multiple occasions dating back to 2020.
Lots of tears were shed yesterday.
Bree Adams and her husband say they put their lab in Neal's care last year for training, but when their puppy came home, they say it was a different dog.
So she was always happy, excited, you name it, a typical puppy. She came back and I would go to pet her and I was like, something's up, because she kept ducking.
She can't confirm her dog was abused, but it leaves her wondering. The Lenore County Sheriff shared a message to the public, a reminder to report animal abuse.
I think there was probably dogs that got abused that if they were reported it quicker than that we could have saved them dogs from getting abused.
We reached out to Neal this evening and have not yet heard back. Now, the sheriff tells us Neal was investigated under similar accusations about 8 months ago, but that case was dropped by the district attorney's office. They tell us that that was the first time that Neal was on their radar. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News, Lenore County.
The Lenore County Sheriff, by the way, tells us Neal posted a $47,000 bond today and is awaiting a court date. We reached out to Neal this afternoon. As Heidi said, we were not able to get in touch. Right now, police are searching for a man they believe hit a Lowe's employee with a sledgehammer during a shoplifting incident. 25-year-old Aaron Williams is wanted in the attack. It happened at the hardware store on Fayetteville Road in Durham on Saturday night. Police say he took a sledgehammer out of his shopping cart and hit an elderly employee. The worker was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Williams is wanted on assault and robbery charges.
A Holly Springs man will spend more than 65 years in prison for a string of pellet gun shootings. WRAL was the only TV station in the Wake County courtroom when a jury convicted Henderson Atwater of 11 charges in connection with the shootings in 2020 and 2021. The case had drawn some criticism for how it had been handled, with Atwater's attorney saying that he was targeted because of his race. Judge Keith Gregory spoke on that shortly after the guilty verdicts were read.
This jury of your peers did their work. They did their work. There was no racism in this. And I can say that as an African-American male. There was nothing to do with race in this case.
Atwater first faces over 30 other charges in connection to these shootings, but District Attorney Lauren Freeman tells WRAL that her office does not intend to move forward on those cases in light of today's sentencing.
As the State House gathered for a voting session this morning, dozens of families gathered outside to urge them to reach a deal to expand funding for private school vouchers. The waiting list for vouchers has grown to nearly 55,000 families since last year. House and Senate Republican leaders agree the state should find more money, but disagree on how to do it. State House Speaker Tim Moore said today no deal is likely before the upcoming school year begins.
We're tracking, Kim, some activity in the tropics. Some new models are giving us a better idea of when things could develop and, more importantly, kind of the path it's going to take. Meteorologist Kat Campbell is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with some details on this.
Some really interesting updates today. First, the system looks a lot healthier on satellite imagery. It's starting to escape that plume of Saharan dust that it was stuck in. But notice the region where it could develop over the next 7 days is getting a lot bigger, and that's due to more uncertainty that was introduced by the models today. Still a 60% chance of developing. So here's what we're noticing: a weaker system that travels a bit farther to the west into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, potentially impacting the Florida Keys and Florida down the line. Both the American, the European, and several other global models have that solution now. But then things diverge as we get into early next week. We begin to see some divergence. The American model carrying it back into the Gulf of Mexico after sitting over Florida with a lot of rain for days. And the European model still carries it close to the Carolina coast, but that's not until the end of next week. So significant differences here on timing and trajectory. I'll have more on this and your weekend beach forecast coming up.
Okay, Kat, we'll see you soon. Kamala Harris will make a stop in Raleigh next week with her new running mate by her side. The Harris campaign says she will announce the running mate in the coming days, and they will, quote, crisscross the country together. Their first stop will be in Philadelphia on Tuesday. They'll also visit Wisconsin, Detroit, Savannah, Phoenix, and Las Vegas next week, along with Raleigh. New polling done by Bloomberg shows former President Donald Trump's lead has gotten smaller in North Carolina after Vice President Harris entered the race. In a poll done by The Hill in February, Trump was up 9 points over Biden in the state. Bloomberg's poll conducted last week has that lead cut down to just 2 points.
The action continues. Lots to talk about after all the events today in Paris. So many athletes to celebrate. Today, U.S. women's soccer, they beat Australia to qualify for the quarterfinals. The final score was 2-1. The women's national team will now face Japan in the next round.
Olympic triathletes dove into the Seine today after months of back and forth. Officials deemed the water safe after a last-minute test. As WRAL's Liz McLaughlin explains, there's still uncertainty about bacteria in the river.
We are totally 100% confident between the result we have and the process.
Paris Games officials reassured the public on Wednesday that the Seine is now safe for swimming after tests in recent days showed harmful levels of bacteria. A number of Olympic events are set to take place in the Paris River, a waterway that France has spent $1.5 billion to clean up. But heavy rain over opening ceremony proved to be a setback. After a delay, today's tests cleared triathletes for their Olympic race.
We are really upper the limit, like around 500 or 600, and the limit is 1,000, so we are really down the limit.
While today's triathlon was in the clear, there are continued concerns about day-to-day fluctuations. Just yesterday, the levels of bacteria were over the threshold, deeming the water unsafe for competition. Waste management officials say they're prepared to go with the flow.
And as we saw, there is the ability to postpone the competitions if the quality is not sufficient on the day it's supposed to happen.
Sometimes heavy rain can overwhelm the sewer system, flushing wastewater into the river.
It's not just any rain that impacts the quality of the system. As we saw, last night we had some rain, but it was a small one. It did not have any impact on the sewage system.
A touch-and-go situation on the Seine. Liz McLaughlin, WRAL News, Paris.
Now let's take a look at where the medal count stands right now. United States in the lead with 30 total, followed by France, the host country, in second with 26. China in third place with 19. Don't miss tonight's WRAL Olympic Zone right after this newscast. We'll have live reports from Paris starting at 7:30. Then at 8 o'clock, it's primetime in Paris. You can catch all the action you missed today, including men's gymnastics, several swimming events you don't want to miss. Katie Ledecky. It's all right here on WRAL.
Still ahead here at 7 o'clock, we are going in depth on a string of crimes, jewelry stores and high-end homes in our area. All of them hit, including nearly 24 in Wake County. A closer look at who's behind it, some of the technology they're using as well to get away with these heists next. Plus, Boar's Head is expanding its deli meat recall, and that's already left dozens of people sick, including someone here in North Carolina. We rely on Wi-Fi a lot. You're probably using it to watch me right now. Almost everything in our homes can connect to it. The phone, the computer, our watches, the Nintendo, speakers, TV, fridge, microwave, thermostat, light switches, light bulbs, air purifier, ceiling fan, Roomba, baby monitor, coffee machine, workout bike, toothbrush, garage door, car, grill, bed for some reason. The point is, it's a lot of stuff. And it includes our security systems, the Ring doorbells, watching over our Amazon packages, the floodlights that we use to watch the back door, and the kitchen cams when you miss the dog. All of it depends on that little box that you shove into the closet or the cabinet, that router. It all needs Wi-Fi. By now, you can probably see where I'm going with this story, what I'm getting at. That's right. Let's say it together. Chilean crime rings. Let's go in depth. So you know about these? Do you know about these things? These Chilean crime rings? I keep bringing it up to people, my family, my friends, the clerk at Publix, waiters, a dad at some birthday party my son got invited to. I'm not the best at small talk, but this is some really Danny Ocean level stuff, like this jewelry store in Rocky Mount. Someone broke into the store next door, cut a hole through the wall, disabled the security system, cracked the safe, left with $800,000 in jewelry, and then disappeared. Vanished. No one's been arrested. The FBI is involved, and it fits the MO, the modus operandi. These gangs, they hit these mom and pop jewelry stores and expensive homes, coast to coast, and right here in the Triangle. This is some surveillance footage from a break-in in North Raleigh. An expensive home. I mean, just look at those back steps. They're targeting these big, beautiful houses, and you would not believe how much they're getting away with.
Well, we've had as high as $1 million worth of value out of one home with the property, jewelry, precious metals, high-end items.
Detectives in Wake County arrested 4 men, 3 from Chile, 1 from Argentina. But it took a year to catch them. And during that time, they're suspected of hitting more than 20 high-end homes in just Wake County alone. I called around to police agencies all over across the Triangle, and nearly all of them have cases that fit the MO of these Chilean crime rings. What is the MO? I thought you'd never ask. How about this headline? Right here from the New York Post. South American heist rings target luxurious homes, wear ghillie suits to remain unseen. Ghillie suits. Do you know what a ghillie suit is? Probably not, since you're not a Navy SEAL or a Swamp Thing. This is a ghillie suit. It's like full body camouflage. They use them to hide outside of houses and to stake them out. Look at this video of some dude hiding in the brush. You're basically a bush person. Are they hard to buy? Are they hard to find? Of course they're not. I went on ghilliesuitwarehouse.com. They're having a sale. In fact, these groups, they buy lots of this little spy stuff online, and it can be extremely effective. In LA County, a victim found a surveillance camera in the shrubs that looks like a plant. I found multiple stories where the police were finding these plant cams after crimes. In Detroit, detectives say that they have used things like trackers on cars. So when you're at work or the gym or at dinner, they track you, and then they make their move when you're away. In Charlotte, police said in some cases, it looks like the suspects used cell jammers to disarm alarm systems and cameras, which can also stop some alarm systems from calling police. I talked to a security expert about this. He says these Wi-Fi jammers, like the one here, they will overload your system with signals, and that disconnects everything that is connected to it, like the cameras. And there are videos about these things all over the internet.
It's perfectly legal for me to actually own one of these jammers, but it's illegal to actually use this in a public place.
Oh, my Wi-Fi jammer? That's for decoration. When burglars hit a house in Cary, investigators told us the homeowner later discovered her Wi-Fi router had been disconnected, disabling the doorbell camera and security cameras. Ironically, here at home, in the end, the crooks were beaten at their own game by police, a deus ex machina to their modus operandi, if you will. Et tu, Brute. Wake County detectives followed the group back to an Airbnb that was in Durham. They put a tracker on their vehicle, then caught them in the act during the next burglary. All 4 men in jail right now awaiting trial. You see, law enforcement is catching on. They're hitting these crooks a lot harder with bigger bonds and more serious charges. They hope that it will keep them out of our area because the efforts to keep them out of our country haven't been working very well. We'll explain that part and the rest of the story on Friday. Let me know if you have any questions or things you'd like to add to this coverage. Did you know about these crimes or where they were happening, how prevalent they are? Let me know. Tell me what's on your mind, and we'll go in depth.
Ghillie suits. What a sophisticated crime ring and network. They use ghillie suits. Amazing. Boar's Head is expanding its massive deli meat recall. At least one person in North Carolina has gotten sick from this. More than 7 million pounds of ready-to-eat meat and poultry products are included in the recall because they may be contaminated with listeria. The CDC says at least one of the 34 people who got listeria lives in North Carolina. 2 people died in New Jersey and Illinois. 5 on Your Side says throw away or return any meat you have that's under this recall and then wipe down the inside of your fridge with hot, soapy water. Very important stuff. Well, look at this beautiful sunset. Beaufort always brings it here on the 7 o'clock news. Beautiful sunset here. And, you know, Kat, we really got our taste of cranking up the heat once again. And it looks like we're going to have that for the next few days.
Yes, we are. We've got upper 90s on the horizon, both tomorrow and Friday. That miserable heat that we had, you know, just a couple of weeks ago, it's coming back just for a couple of days, though. 98 on Friday. We're back in the low 90s, though, over the weekend. And each day will feature a chance for scattered storms. It's a 40% chance Friday, a 60% chance Saturday, and a 50% chance Sunday. So those days, rain chances are a bit higher out there. Let's talk about your weekend beach forecast. We're already getting a lot of questions into the WRAL Severe Weather Center about folks that have plans to travel to the coast this weekend. The good news is you are good to go. You're not going to have a direct impact from any tropical system this weekend at the North Carolina coast. However, there will be some scattered storms, just typical summertime stuff out there. Highs in the upper 80s to lower 90s. And be aware there could be an increased threat for rip currents depending on the exact trajectory of the tropical system. So check on the flags flying on the beach for the rip current threat. But let's talk about the latest thoughts on this tropical system. Definitely looking more organized, a bit healthier out there today. It's still really not likely to develop until we get to the weekend, though. So we've got a couple more days to monitor this. Once it develops and we've got a center of circulation, we'll get a much more accurate picture of where it's going to be going in the long term. But multiple models are now showing it moving into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. The new European model came in just about an hour ago. It continues to show a similar solution as well for the American model there, I should say. And the latest information, you know, the timing has slowed with that curve into the Gulf. Any potential impacts here would be much slower. The European model does still have some impacts toward the North Carolina coast, but not until next weekend. So a big slowdown if that moves into the Gulf. We'll watch it for you closely. 89 out there right now, partly cloudy. Still looking a bit hazy out there from the wildfires out on the west coast. Some of that wildfire smoke out here. 8:20 our sunset this evening, getting a little earlier. Nothing to really see in a significant way on the radar across our state. And as we look ahead on Futurecast, I don't think we're really going to see anything tonight. Tomorrow, we could see a few hit or miss pop-up storms. It's about a 30% chance tomorrow, so there aren't going to be very many storms. The issue is it's so hot and humid that we'll have a lot of energy. So any storms that develop could be severe. There's the level 1 out of 5 severe weather threat across much of the state tomorrow. But, you know, it's just unusual because the chance that you're going to see a storm in the first place is pretty low. Just be aware if you do, it could be intense. After that, better storm chances are on the way for the weekend. A little drier by the early part of next week, but still hot, Dan.
All right. Thank you, Kat. Chris Lee's here now with an update on the sports world.
Could have a sports expansion here in the area. Will Raleigh end up getting a Major League Baseball team? Well, Tom Dundon wants to make that happen. We'll have that plus chemistry on the field, chemistry off the field. Dave Doran feels like he has a winner this year. How he's trying to put together the pieces on almost a brand new team. Next in sports. Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon has helped to usher in a new era of winning for the Carolina Hurricanes. He's also interested in bringing a new professional sports team to the Triangle. New Hurricanes business CEO Brian Fork says Dundon is very serious about bringing baseball here, Major League Baseball. There's still some details to be worked out, like the timeline and where a new stadium would be built. But Dundon and his team say that Raleigh is definitely the perfect place.
We don't have baseball, Major League Baseball, anywhere in the state. And here in the Triangle area, we got a lot of college sports. We have the Hurricanes. I think we've got the capacity, the growing business capacity, corporate support. That's just going to keep building and building and building to the point where I think it's probably the best place to put a team in the country, really.
NC State was tested today, nice and hot this morning for the first day of fall camp. The Pack has high expectations as they hope to end the year with a college football playoff appearance. But to be in that conversation, this group here has to build chemistry. There are 44 new faces on this team, including many who will play some key roles on both sides of the ball. Head coach Dave Doran says that he had to be intentional in getting this group close, both on and off the field.
The glue of your roster is what helps you win games. You know, when you get into those adverse situations, are they going to play for each other? Or I don't really know these guys, you know. And so we did some things in the offseason. Our whole team went to Camp Rockfish and did a overnight. It was a great team building. Our position coaches do a lot of things with them, but I've been really intentional because of the numbers of making sure these guys aren't strangers and that they're brothers.
And the Team USA men's basketball clinched their spot in a knockout round in the Olympics. They beat South Sudan 103-86 today in the Olympic Games. North Carolina native Bam Adebayo led the way with 18 points. There's another North Carolina connection on South Sudan. Upcoming freshman at Duke, Kaman Malawash, is on that team. So before he even plays college basketball, he's playing against professionals in the Olympics. Crazy.
For anybody who's been watching us over these during the Olympics here, so many connections to North Carolina. Yes. I love it. Chris, thank you. Don't forget, everybody, stick around for tonight's special Olympic Zone coming up in just a few minutes right here on WRAL. Thank you for making us your choice for local news. Have a great night.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.